Hello, everyone that is watching us right now. Welcome back. This is Marvin, as usual, your host, and we are here to talk about politics. You get? So we thank God that yesterday we received a bit of rain. It was really amazing, and today I have a big guest here. But before I start, I want to say welcome to our show, and today we are seeing a lot, and I will say that often young people. We are seen as the future leaders, but we believe that we are already leaders in our own right. So it's time for us to recognize the incredible potential that exists within us, within our communities. We want to celebrate the achievements of young people who are making a difference and are inspiring others to do the same. So our show, we discuss a lot. We discuss issues that matter most to you, from education, employment, social justice, and entrepreneurship. So we talk to different young people, they make analysis, they say a lot, and I believe we are going to learn together. Before I introduce the man I have with right now, I'm going to start with some key political developments in Uganda. That is from Monday to yesterday, Friday. We are starting with the Deputy Speaker elected President of the ACP Estates, Joint Parliamentary Assembly. That's Thomas Taiba was voted as the President of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States Parliamentary Assembly on Friday, 25th. More Parliament demands justice for brutalized TV journalists. We know that there was a member who was a top TV journalist who was covering some story. He called Ibrahim Miracle. He was brutalized in the process and is still in hospital. Called for adequate financing for the LC elections. The Minister of Finance and Planning is requesting for money. You know, we have spent years without voting the LCs. The LCs we found when we were young, there are those ones that are still there. Improved school infrastructure, pardon Nope supporter on hunger strike. A magistrate courts issue arrest warrant for the president of the Law Society, Sema Kade. Of course, opposition calls for action on economic crisis. The opposition leaders are criticizing the government on the way it's handling the economic crisis. So it's calling for urgent action to address the rising inflation, unemployment, and many others. Government defends its decision to remove the tax exemptions. MPs query delayed completion of road projects. MPs are saying that all the road projects are being bad. We have Uganda-Rwanda ties. The president meets the Rwanda envoy and RM party. They met and to discuss the party primaries, many others. So allow me to introduce the person I'm with right now here today so that we start our show. Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Marvin.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here today with you.
Yeah.
First of all, for the starters, my name is Mugiru Abubakar. Naam. I'm a student from Islamic University in Uganda, Kampala campus here, and I'm pursuing accounting and in my final year. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
A person who's doing accounting, someone will ask, how do you know things of politics? How do you you read books calculating?
You see, there is what they call deprofessionalization. Deprofessionalization usually means that you don't need to go to class to study everything you see. As in the past, they used it to tell us that if you want to be a lawyer, you have to attend a lawyer class. If you have to be a nurse, you have to do so. But when you talk about this era, there's what you call deprofessionalization. That you don't need to go to class or you don't need to go to anywhere to know things around you. Internet came. We can use the internet to know that this is how I can do this. So because of that, and apart from that, I'm a person who enjoys to be listening to current affairs. Yes. So that's why I come to know this.
Okay, that's really amazing. How has your week been so far?
This week has been okay to me personally, but when you talk about on the large scale in Uganda, it has been covered with a lot of events. Maybe what you have not actually pointed out is the brutality we saw when they were nominating the Kawempe by-election. Those that are contesting, especially that council Narukola was brutalized. And in that saga, we saw a journalist also brutalized. Actually, we had that even the eye is damaged.
It was damaged.
That journalist is called Michael from Top TV. So it was a shame to the government of Uganda, and actually it was a wake-up call to the journalists, because as we are heading for 2026 elections, this is a curtain raiser that what will happen in 2026, it would be much more than this one on journalists. So we call up the government to take caution and to protect the rights of journalists, because when you read our constitution, journalists are taken as the first estate. So because without them we cannot know. Actually, without them, we can't know what is transpiring in the country. So we call upon the government to actually care about the journalists. Another thing I also saw, this week also the NRM caucus was summoned in Entebbe by the president, and their main issue was to talk about the amendments in the UPDF's Act, especially the General Court Martial. And it should be recalled that on 31st of January this same year, the Supreme Court gave its judgment on the court martial, and it said it is unconstitutional, and therefore it should not be allowed to try civilians
in the court martial.
So my week has been recapped with that, unless if you have more to ask about that. But so far that's what I saw in the week, sir.
Have you started fasting?
Yes, we started today. And I want to thank Allah for this gift of fasting. And I want to wish all the Muslim communities out there a happy Ramadan. Take caution, take a lot of water when you are breaking your fast and when you are eating it down, because we are in a situation where we have too much sunshine. So if you don't take a lot of water, you may end up dehydrating. Otherwise, I wish you a happy Ramadan.
We shall be coming for that food anyway.
Now it is there.
We start off with the loop by-election. We have seen a lot of comedy. I'm going to call it comedy at the Electoral Commission of Kawempe. Different aspirants have come up, and I want you to analyze that situation that has happened. We have seen a lot of beatings. In the first place, Naul Kolar's documents. His personal assistant was abducted and the documents disappeared. So we saw NRM, the person was moving around campaigning. Khalifa Ganaga, aka Muchiri Sadat, was also in that process. We saw Nsereko. Then there was also another young man who came without money.
I saw that man.
So a lot has happened. But you're supposed to know, understands, who can do analysis. First, give me your picture on the NOP by-election of Kawempe. Actually, for us, we call it NOP by-election, but it's the by-election of Kawempe.
You see, when you talk about by-elections in Uganda, when you started this very year, the NRM government or the NRM party has been winning every by-election. For example, when you go to Kayunga, you saw what happened there. Chisoro, you saw what happened. Even those areas of northern Uganda, you saw what happened. So it has been a journey for NRM to win these by-elections, especially in the outskirts of Kampala. But this by-election, when you talk about a by-election, for example, in Kawempe North, it calls for a lot of questions. Number one, when you talk about Kampala region, NRM is not famous.
Yeah, true.
Even previously, NRM was not famous, because previously, before NUP coming, it was DP or either FDC. But now NUP almost swept the whole Kampala region. So on the side of NRM, it has to make sure that it does what is possible so that it regains support.
But is it possible?
But it is, I think it is, in politics, we cannot say it is possible or not possible, because everything can happen.
Yeah, everything can happen.
Everything can happen. So we may say it will be hard, but not impossible, because it can come up when it has won and things turn around. But what I have to say is that when we talk about Kawempe North, in Kampala especially, there is what we call ethnicity. Actually, in the whole of Africa, when we are dealing with elections, sometimes we look at the ethnicity, the groups of people occupying a given area. For example, we talk about Kenya. Kenya has been ruled by Chukuyu because they are the most people there. Now, we talk about Kawempe. Kawempe has three crucial things or aspects everyone should take into account. You can never win Kawempe North when you are not a Muslim.
They talk about that. I don't.
Yes. It's like when you talk about Rubaga. Rubaga holds, I think, the Catholic Church there.
Yeah.
You can never go there and win when you're a Muslim. Why? There is that element of ethnicity under there. Secondly, you can never win Kawempe when you don't have a clue about the Uganda kingdom. So a person to win Kawempe must have all that. So these other people who are coming in when they are not Muslims, when they don't have a clue on Uganda, they will take it, they will face a hard day to take that home. Why am I saying that? When we talk about Kawempe North, that's where our religion, Islam, when we talk about Nuhu Mbogo, whom we believe was the pioneer of Islam in Uganda. That's why he started from.
Kawempe.
Kawempe, especially Kawempe North. Actually, in Kawempe North, that's why you find his tomb. Even you find there a historical mosque of Mbogo Mosque. So a person to take Kawempe must have a root in Islam.
Yeah.
So those people who are Muslims, they take a day there. Secondly, if you are to take Kawempe, as you can see, we are in a by-election. And the person we are replacing here, we are replacing the late Honorable Segirinya. I want to commend NUP and I want to thank it. You see, when NUP was conducting its selection of candidates, it did the right thing. Why? We were in a dilemma of either choosing a replacement of Segirinya or filling a by-election vacant position. NUP chose a person to fill a vacant position, not to replace Segirinya. What do I mean? When we talk about Segirinya, those who remember, Segirinya was among the people who contested for NUP card with this man, I'm forgetting the name, Chidandala. But when you look at Chidandala, he's a celebrated lawyer. He's a known person. But NUP decided to give Segirinya. Because at that time, NUP had no time to look at what, because Segirinya was a person who was once a councillor in Kawempe, had done a lot of things, so NUP decided to give a card to Segirinya. But this time around, NUP has given a card to the right person. Because when we talk about Councillor Narukola, he's a celebrated lawyer. He's a Muslim, and when we talk about Mengo issues, he's very known. He's a very known person. So, for the NRM candidate, because NRM candidate, I think they brought to Hajati, is it Hajati Sumaya? Hajati Fu?
I'm not sure.
Actually,
I didn't even know that NRM was in that.
No. In fact, there were two who were contesting for the flag, but the flag was given to the daughter, to the vice chairman, Chugongo. So that Hajati you are seeing is a daughter to Haji Chugongo, who is the vice chairman of NRM. So the other person, Karadi, was not given a card, and therefore she came as an independent.
And she's also still in the race?
Yes, but NRM leaning, however, she's an independent. So NRM, it will be hard for it to take Kawempe because in the first place, it has destroyed everything. Look at the day when they are nominating. Councillor Elias Lukwago, Councillor Naruimbazi, gave his documents to his personal assistant. In fact, he was not allowed to move from home, and he never slept from in his home. He slept somewhere. The police wake up one morning, surrounded his home to find out that he's not there. They called the police that the man is in the gates of Electoral Commission. They ran there. So the person who was holding the documents was abducted. Actually, I was looking at that person claiming that they abducted him. They put him in a drone, and they never allowed him to say anything. What they wanted was to delay him because Narukola was to be nominated at exactly 11 a.m. So if at all you skip that time, things cannot turn around. So he was abducted, but when the police came to know that Narukola is filling other forms you got from Electoral Commission, then they released the man. So that element they did in the first place showed that they are partisan exactly, and it's going to cost them. Secondly, when Narukola was nominated, they refused him to enter his car to go. They told him that to walk and do what? And go. When he started walking, a lot of people came into a procession, and you see what happened. We saw those people.
But was it right for him to walk in the middle of the road? Wasn't it?
Let me tell you, in politics, what gives you mileage? Have people seen you around? You talk about this NRM candidate. He made a procession in the road. In fact, he was in this Caterpillar, He made a procession, border people rided and etc. But Narukola was with few people, but the police decided to stop him, he told them, okay, you have stopped me, give me my can, I go. They refused it. So what did you want the person to do? So you saw what happened, and in that saga, a journalist was actually brutalized. We sympathize with that journalist, and we condemn that in strong terms as possible. So I think at the end of the day, it will be taken by either an independent person or a NOP candidate. Why am I saying that? When you look at the independents that have come onto board, most of them were NOP leaning. Remember when NOP was conducting its primaries and selecting the candidate, it gave Max and Norokola came out victorious. Then the second person was Umaru Magala. We saw Umaru Magala siding with Narukola and he accepted the results. But you will talk about this Luwemba Ruswa Muhammad, who changed from Catholic to Islam because he was called Alex Luwemba. Let me tell you, never do a short-term strategy in politics. Now we asked him, what if you don't win? Will you go back to Christianity?
No, you remain as Muhammad.
So you cannot do that because for him he knew that, okay, this position I have to be a Muslim and I have to be having a connection with Uganda. That's why he ran to turn into Islam. But that's how we do those things. When you hear that man speaking, he always collides with Segedin, the late Segedin. He can never stand independently alone to speak that this is what I'm going to do for Kawempe. In politics, never lean on another person. Let me tell you something. In 1980, when the president, the current one, President Museveni, was going to the bush, a lot of people discredited him, saying that you are going to the bush without the support of everyone. Say that when you want to achieve something, always stand alone. And indeed,
the rest will join you.
The rest will join you in the race. So when you talk about this Luwemba Muhammad, I like that man because he was a P of Segirinya. But the weakness with that man is that he cannot stand independently. And in politics, you have to learn to stand independently. Because what if those people who are standing at dissuade you and they actually they side with another person? What will you do? So Luwemba didn't perform well in standing alone. Standing the people of Kawempe and tell them, this is what I'm going to do. If you give me your votes, this is what I'm going to do. That's why I'm saying in Narukola, when you hear Narukola's actual speeches, when you hear his interviews, he doesn't side along with what? With Segirinya. Because the other person has died. Stand and say, this is what I'm going to do. But this Kawempe by-election is going to be brutal to me. Because you saw what happened from the beginning. And when actually they asked the spokesperson of the army, Mr. Felix Kulaije, and the spokesperson of the police, they said that we are not going to release those people. I mean, we are not going to take away JAD, that police that we are putting on black things. It is going to be there until the election is done. So this means that people are going to lose their lives. People are going to be abducted.
What if they're there to keep peace? That's the main thing.
Of course, keeping peace.
Law and order.
But you saw what happened on the nomination. Are they keeping peace or are they breaking the law? You see, they abducted a person, they took his credentials, they never allowed him to be nominated. Finally, he got nominated. When he finished getting nominated, as he was proceeding, those guys come and abducted him. They brutalized him, and in that case, they brutalized a journalist. So that is not keeping peace. Keeping peace means that you show this person where to pass. If this person refuses, arrest. Don't abduct. You get it? Restrain that person with reasonable force, but they use extreme force, which is not actually acceptable. So I think under Kawempe, it is an indicator that what we are heading to in 2026, it will be a brutal election.
We should be ready.
We should be ready for that because these people are preparing for that. You see, the reason why even the Court General Marshal is coming, it's that. Because the president, when you look at actually, I'm sorry to divert that, but I'm saying that the election we are heading in 2026, it is going to be bloody. And why am I saying that? Kawempe has become a specimen for that. So, otherwise, for me, I want to call upon the people of Kawempe. You are the one with powers. Go and look in the people who have contested. Choose a person you feel is carrying your ideas, is going to help you to come up with the problems you have. Because you have a lot of problems, the roads, schools, hospitals, etc. Take that person who is going to help you achieve that. don't take a person because of popularism, because of the comedy. I saw some of people are making comedy. Imagine. This time is not for comedy, please.
But on that point, what do you say about Nsereko?
Nsereko Muhammad is a replacement of Segirinya. That's why I told you.
By the way, is that true?
Yes, that's why I told you. You not made the right decision. Because if it was to replace Segirinya, Nsereko Muhammad was the right candidate. Because he has the characters of that guy. But this time around, Nope has realized that we no longer need comedians. Because when you have comedians, everything they are doing, they put in comedy.
Yeah.
They can never be serious on a given issue. We need people who are going to stand and raise our voices.
But he looks to be a man of action. I'm going to box the speaker.
You see, actually from the beginning, he's trying to show his character. So when you reach in the parliament and say inside I'm going to box the speaker, what are you trying to transpire in the fact? So Nope was right to select Narukola. Actually, I'm very happy for that. Narukola was the right choice for Kawempe North.
Talk about FDC. Muchibi said that.
Now, first of all, as every Ugandan, our constitution provides that if you are 18 years and above and you have a minimum qualification of senior 6 or equivalent, and you are a voter, a registered voter, you qualify to stand in any position.
Yeah.
By the way, that Muchibi said that he wanted to contest for Rubaga.
I remember.
You remember?
Rubaga, yeah.
And then I don't know how he shifted from Rubaga to Kawempe. But anyway, I think he's a resident of Kawempe because the law says that if you're a resident of a given area or you work from that area, you qualify to stand in that given area. So Muchibi Sadat, first of all, has never appeared on any political arena. It is his first time to come into this politics. Secondly, for me, I will say FDC has died politically. Because when you talk about FDC has been a powerful political party. Days of Dr. Kizza Besigye, the days of Mugisha Muntu.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know what is happening. Actually, I got surprised. In all the people FDC have, they decided to bring Alpha Aganaga. I'm not discrediting him because he's a Ugandan and he qualifies to be a member of parliament. But that was not the right choice for FDC. At least it was not the right choice for FDC.
He's educated, he's wise, he's intelligent. According to the results he showed us.
Yes, he's intelligent. But when he was interviewed on one interview, I saw an interview, I think on Sanyuka TV, they asked him, what do you know about Kawempe? The man ran away from the interview. They asked him, how do they call it, parishes, gombolas, Kawempe has? The man didn't know anything about Kawempe. So how can someone who doesn't know anything to do with Kawempe come to represent the people of Kawempe?
Maybe he will learn in the process.
So he would have, you first learn, then you come. This time around, you don't want people who run on the job. You want people who come to do the job. Otherwise, FDC, you miscalculated. Maybe what they wanted to do, you see, even DA of Matthias Mpuga, they brought Adrian Skin. These people have understood that musicians which previously they discredited, they undermined, that they can actually come on the scene and they do wonders. A case in point was Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine came and changed everything. So I think these people are trying to strategize in terms of music. They're trying to get those musicians. By the way, let me tell you, logically, FDC has not brought Alpha Aganaga to win. No, they are strategizing for 2026. Most of the political parties have not brought their candidates to win. In other words, they are preparing their engine for 2026. The people who are in race right now, we are talking about Nope. Because Nope has to regain that position. But when you talk about FDC, for them, they are strategizing for 2026. In other words, they are campaigning for 2026.
Also, DP brought a person.
DP brought a person is called Mobiru. I think we are called names. I'm happy for that. He's called Mobiru. But DP, I don't know. DP is which side? Opposition in NRM. They have a memorandum of association with NRM. They are working together. So I don't know. But as I have told you, strategically, all political parties are trying to prepare for 2026. And therefore, this Kawempe North is acting as a playground for all political parties to show what they have for 2026.
Your prediction, who do you think is going to win?
Of course, as I told you in the beginning, it would either be an independent person or an NUP candidate. Because why am I saying independent? Independent, they have a problem that when you have independence in an election and they have a political party they affiliate to, they usually destroy the votes for the other flag bearer.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about NUP, the flag bearer is Elias Narukora, but they have almost 3 independent candidates who are leaning to what? To NUP. So that one destroys the votes. And actually, Narukora may win, but with a small what? Margin.
Because the numbers
will be taken to the other independent candidates. But otherwise, for me, I hope NRM cannot take that day. It cannot take that day. It cannot. You know, when you look at that Hajat, when that Hajat is moving, it's actually fearing people. But because provided he's a daughter to the vice chairman of NRM, he's protected on the monies, all that, but it can never happen to win. NRM cannot win. That position is going to be taken by an independent or by a NUP. That's my prediction.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, that was powerful. You've given your analysis, I've understood. Now we go next week.
Yes, sir.
The law is being brought to Parliament. I want you to paint a picture for the one who doesn't understand this. We're talking about the Supreme Court decided, but next week it's being brought to Parliament. We have to see, they are doing checks. So draw a picture for one who doesn't understand what's ongoing.
Now, it should be recorded that in 2015, a man called Kabaziguruka was arrested on charges that he wanted to assassinate the president. And he was arraigned in the court martial.
Yeah.
This man appealed in the High Court, saying that I'm a civilian and I cannot be taken to the court martial. Indeed, the High Court gave its ruling in 2016, 17 around, that civilians are not allowed to appear in the general court martial. Because when we talk about the UPDF Act, especially Section 205, it stipulates that court martial and it tells you the people who are supposed to appear there. It was enacted there to discipline the serving army, the serving soldiers, but not the civilians. But because, you know, as time evolves, especially when you have a president that have overstayed in power, it reaches a time where he personalizes all the institutions. And you find that all the institutions, they just listen to one person.
One person, yeah.
So the court martial has been a tool of persecution, not prosecution, because it has been used to align their civilians, especially those ones that do not affiliate with the ruling government. So the government of Uganda under the Attorney General appealed in the Supreme Court to avenge the other decision, which was made by the High Court. And from that time up to now, have been crying for the decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has been quiet. But what triggered off that ruling, which we witnessed on 31st of January this year, the abduction of Dr. Kizza Besigye from Kenya, and later arraigned in the military court, it actually sparked off the debate of the ruling of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court was forced to come up with the decision, which is the final decision. In fact, when you look at our Constitution, Article 92 of our Constitution says, when the Supreme Court gives its judgment, the judgment is final. That's one. Two, its judgment cannot be challenged. Three, the same act of the Section 92 say that if a Supreme Court gives a decision, Parliament shall not enact a law to remove the decision made by the Supreme Court. Now what we are seeing, this week, which we are actually ending, the NRM caucus sat in Italy, and they anonymously decided to bring back the UPDF Act in Parliament so that they can take back the court martial, which was removed by the Supreme Court. Automatically, they have broke Article 92 of the Constitution, because that article says if the Supreme Court gives a judgment, that judgment cannot be challenged.
It's final.
It's the final judgment. And actually, Parliament has no powers to sit and make another law that actually removes what the Supreme Court has decided. So, for the starters, next week on Tuesday, we expect the Chief Whip of Government, Anson Obua, to come up with that amendments. Because when you look at the letter they gave out after meeting the president, they say that as NRM caucus, we have anonymously agreed to bring these amendments in the amendment bill in Parliament. But they don't talk about the bill. They have not seen the bill. Actually, I was seeing one of the MP interviewed on NBS, he said that, okay, we agreed, but we have not seen the what? The bill. You remember in 1966, Obote passed a constitution, which was called the Pigeonhole Constitution. That constitution, the member of parliament came and they found it in their pigeonholes. They simply voted yes. So I think this is what is going to happen. And it can be the quarter of 2017, which was we saw a lot of things happening in the parliament. So what is happening in Uganda right now, the president is trying to bring back the court martial. Actually, when you look at the letter the president gave out after the ruling of the Supreme Court, the president said the judges are not the one leading this country. It was a vote of no confidence in the Supreme Court's judgment. So, but I think, of course, it's going to be challenged in courts if at all they bring those amendments, because it is clear that court martial was put in place to discipline the serving army. Even in the police, we have a disciplinary committee for the police. Have you ever seen any civilian taken to the disciplinary committee of the police? In the parliament, we have a disciplinary committee. We have never seen a civilian who is not an MP taken there. Why then do we have civilians in the court martial? Second of all, when you look at the judgment that was given by the Supreme Court, it said that people who are presiding over the court are not judges. In fact, the leader of that court is called the chairman. And in law, we don't have a chairman of a court. We have either a lawyer or a judge. In fact, it's even said that when these people are going to make decisions, they don't consult any given court. They simply consult the chairman. And the chairman of that court, in other words, is the president, because the president is the one that selects the chairman of that court. So for my appeal to the government, that let us respect what the Supreme Court decided. If at all you want to bring back the court martial, let it be for the serving army. Let it be for the serving officers, because there is no case that you will take the Supreme Court, to the court martial, which is not handled by the Supreme Court. You remember in the bush in 1981, there was a man called Babylon. When President Museveni was still in the bush, they had what we call the field marshal court. This court sat immediately if a case had taken place. So Babylon went in the bar and took alcohol. Then he fought with a friend, and this friend in the Babylon killed the friend. So when that court sat in the bush, of course presided over by President Museveni, they decided to kill Babylon. But Babylon, before he was killed, he said that, but you have not allowed me to express what? To give a reason why I killed the person. I was under the influence of alcohol. Now, how do you kill me that I killed a person when I was under the influence of what? Alcohol. The president said, if you kill a person, you are also killed. Babylon was killed. When we come in 1995, they put an act in our constitution that if someone commits a crime, we have to first investigate. Was he under influence of anything? For example, if you murder a person and you were under influence of alcohol or drugs, when you are taken to court, you are not charged with murder. You are charged with manslaughter. Because you did so under the influence of what? Of something. But still a person can give his defense by saying, maybe I was in self-defense. How do you know that I killed this person with an intention? What if I was in self-defense? So that one changes that in these civil courts, you have a right to actually appeal. You have a right to give out your reasons as to why you did so, which is not the case in the court martial, because in the court martial for them, they quickly take you to remand. When I was reading about that bill that is going to be brought in Parliament, there are sections which I really wondered. They say that we are going to leave a way that if someone is convicted in the court martial, he has a right to go and appeal in the civil courts. You know what that one means? It means in case these people don't want you or they have hate on you, what they will do, because the law, what they want to bring, that if at all you are convicted and you are not satisfied with the judgment of the court martial, go and appeal in the civil courts. Now these people, their logic is one. If at all they know that, okay, for example, let me give an example of Dr. Kizza Besigye. Right now, of course, his files were transferred, as the court said. But if at all that court martial comes back and is taken back to the court martial, what these people will do, they will not convict you. They will make sure that you stay on remand for almost 6 years. Because the law says when you are convicted, but when you are not remanded. So they will treat people in that way that you will make sure that you are remanded for more than 10 years when you are not yet convicted. Because the bills they are bringing, you are first convicted, then you are appeal. What if you are not convicted and you are remanded? What will happen to you?
You wait for the time when
You
you're
see?
convicted.
So it is not a court of prosecution, it is a court of prosecution. In fact, it is a tool that is being used by this regime to fight its opponents. Take an example of these new people who were caught in 2019, 2020. Up to now, they are still rotting in jails on the orders of the court martial, which was dismantled by the Supreme Court. So for my thing, if government is to bring amendments within that act, let those amendments be in line with the Constitution. Because if you bring an amendment which is not in line with the Constitution, of course it was going to be challenged in the courts, and automatically the day will end like that. So I want to conclude that issue by saying that we are going into tough times, because when this court martial is brought back, a lot of people are going to be arraigned there, and these people will not get justice. So for me, I want to appeal to the government that let put in place what the Supreme Court decided. In fact, the Supreme Court, under its recommendation, it said that if at all you want this court martial to be there, make it a divisional court. As you see, the courts to do with family, to do with corruption, to do with the commercial courts, make it a division of the High Court. So that if you want to try someone, it is under the courts. When you look at the hierarchy of the courts in Uganda, there's nowhere you find a court martial. The court martial was just a disciplinary committee under the UPDF Act of 2005, but later it was incorporated into a tool of persecution, especially to those ones that don't agree with the government. Yes, sir.
Wow, okay, that's amazing. How many years of... Okay, how old are you now by then?
Now I'm 23 years, and I'm making 24 in August of this year.
How many times have you seen LOCs being erected?
Actually, may God actually forgive our chairman. He died last year. But ever since I was born, that's the chairman I've ever seen.
So,
Kalangwa. So may Allah give you Jannah Kalangwa. You died last year. We pray that your soul rest in peace.
Now, the Minister of Finance and Planning and Economic Development is requesting for funds for elections and administrative units, women councils, the LCs in this coming 2026 election. What is your say about that?
Now, for me, if I had the chance, we need to bring some electoral reforms. You see, one way of rigging votes is making sure that on that voting day, a lot of things to take place. Because look, in 2021, I actually paid a lot of interest in that election of 2021 because I was sounding well, I was understanding everything very well.
Actually, it was also my first time to
The same day they elect a member of parliament, the same day they elect chairman LOC5, the same day they elect councillors, the same day they elect a president. So you find someone having a ballot
from one box
to another, from one box to another. It actually brings congestion on the voting day, which acts as a tool of rigging votes. Now these people are trying to bring the election of these chairmen on the same date or in the same cycle with the election of the president. What they're trying to do simply to rig the elections, because these chairmen, their time of office elapsed, I think 3 years back. And I had the Minister of Local Government, the one called Majezi, bringing a suggestion in the parliament that because we are coming from COVID-19, we don't have time to organize elections for the chairmen. Maybe let us give them 2 or 3 years more so to organize them. So for me, I think it is a one way of rigging the coming elections, because these chairmen automatically at the villages, people know them. Why then do you want to elect? For me, I think let them take what they are there, because at the end of it all, of course, NRM will win that day. Will win that day. Most of the chairman LOC ones are the chairmen of NRM on that village. So it won't change anything. They are simply wanting to steal money for the taxpayer and to prepare grounds for rigging the elections that are coming in 2026.
Secondarily, our MPs were in parliament. They were talking about a delayed completion of road projects. Many road projects are being constructed, but it's like a slow thing.
You see, in Parliament there, what is bringing actually these delays, we had rationalization of government entities. So that rationalization of government entities, for example, talk about that road, is it called the UNRA? UNRA was now taken to Ministry of Works. So because of that rationalization, made some projects to come to a standstill. But also when you talk about some of the projects, these projects, when they give contractors money, the contractors fail to complete their work in time. And government doesn't take caution to look why these contractors are not finishing work in time. Money is availed, allocated, and passed in Parliament, but we don't see any work being done. So for me, I would like Parliament to put a committee of inquiry as to why the roads that were funded are not yet completed. So that they come up with a report and we know who is responsible, so that that person who is responsible is actually held accountable. But the issue, I think most of the issues about the incompletion of the roads, it's because of the rationalization which we had previously.
That's amazing. Anyway, give people your final remarks.
My final remarks, number one, I want to thank you, Marvin, for creating this platform and giving chances to these young people. Because these young people are the leaders of tomorrow. These young people, when their voice is amplified, you see these things, we may take them for granted, but people out there watch them and they get inspired. What you're doing right now, you are inspiring millions of youth to come and actually on board. So I want to thank you very much for giving us this platform. I want to actually encourage you not to look back. For sure, not look back. Because those people are seeing who have YouTube channels that have actually made it, they started like you, and now they are doing a great job. So this is a very good project you started. I wish it to actually continue and yield more fruits for you. I thank you very much for giving me these opportunities. For the viewers out there, we thank you very much. Please subscribe, like, and give us your feedback. Because from the feedback you give us, that's where we actually look at and we improve. So thank you very much for hosting me here today. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so glad. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bakali. Everyone that has joined us today, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an incredible journey. This is just like a start. I always tell you that I bring in different young people. Young people, we know a lot. By the way, we are taken as if we are naive, we don't know things, but pathetic, but we are informed. We know a lot of stuff. So to my guests, thank you so much for sharing your insightful experiences with us. And to our audience, thank you so much for watching. My question is always, please subscribe, comment, like, and share. Give us your feedback, as you said, so that we can start from there. We adjust and change and do the best. Thank you so much for joining us. I remain as Marvin, your host. This is Marvin 256. See you next time.
All right.